My name is Dr. Steve Rummery, and I want to welcome you to your first week at Restore Your Battery for Coaching, where the primary goal is for us to build our dream practices. And where we're going to start is on the topic of priorities, aligning our priorities specifically. And we all have things that we prioritize in our daily lives. These are the things that we spend the most time on, the most effort, the most money. And hopefully these priorities are also things that bring us the most purpose and meaning in our lives. But sometimes they don't. And over time, our various priorities can begin to misalign, where we have big differences between where we're spending our time, where we're spending our money, and where we're getting the most out of life, where we're getting the most meaning and purpose in our life. And a good example is early on in my career here, I focused a lot of attention on for-profit clients. I did a lot of work on Wall Street and various investment banks. I enjoy that work. It's surrounded by very talented people there. It's challenging. I still do work, with clients in that space. But maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, I started to want to focus my attention more and more on mission-driven organizations that are really trying to make this world a better place. And so one of my priorities was to start working with nonprofits, mission-driven organizations, education organizations. And over the years, my practice has really moved more towards, the center of gravity has moved more towards those nonprofit, mission-driven kinds of organizations. So that's an example of how I think over time our priorities around our coaching practices, around our consulting, around our lives, they can change, and we need to, we need to stay on it. We need to make sure that we are really aligning our priorities to where we're getting the most meaning and purpose in our lives. When we prioritize the things that give us more meaning and purpose, I think we become more authentic versions of ourselves. I think we become our best selves. And I think it's such a primary way that we can evolve and grow. And so very critical to focus on where our priorities are and if there's an alignment. Now, of course, one of the priorities that we have in our lives is our coaching practice. And for some of us, it's it's a small part of a larger role that we play in an organization. For others, it's a primary job. It's what we do all the time. But for all of us, being a coach and managing a coaching practice is an important priority in our lives. So in the next few days, we're going to focus some attention on our current practice and how it fits within our lives. Specifically, we're going to examine our ideal practice, our dream practice. What do we imagine is the best kind of coaching practice that we can have? And then we're going to compare it to where our current practice is and try to understand a little bit about the distance, the delta between our ideal practice and our real practice today. We are going to dig into the current practice as well and try to understand what makes it really rewarding and what makes it very costly to us in terms of the investments that we need to make. And we also want to examine the positive and negative impacts that our current practice currently has on our other priorities in our life, whether it be family, learning, mental health, etc. We really want to explore, where does our current practice really fit in our current life? So in preparation for the next couple of days, I'll ask you to reflect on a couple of things. First, dig out your Restore Battery Report, look at page 3, which is your priority grid, and just become familiar again with some of the terms that we're using. For instance, what are your greatest meaning makers in your life? These are the things that you're getting the most meaning and purpose out of, and you're also investing the most time and effort in. So those are your meaning makers. Those are your primary avenues or drivers of meaning in your life. I also want you to think about and identify what your greatest meaning takers are, right? And these are the things that you get the least amount of, of meaning and purpose from, but you're spending the most amount of time and effort. What are those meaning takers in your life? And then finally, where would you plot on that little graph? Where would you plot your current coaching practice? Is it a meaning maker? Is it a meaning taker? Where would it fit on that priority grid? And then and then think about your ideal practice, your dream practice. Where would it fit? And the big important point there is just to kind of recognize that your coaching practice fits within a bunch of other priorities in your life. And we want to understand a little bit about how it interacts with, how it affects other priorities in your life and vice versa, so that we can prepare a plan, some ideas about how to move your current practice more towards the dream practice that we imagine. While you're reflecting on these questions, I highly encourage you to reach out to other people in your cohort here. These things are fun discussions to have. I hope you're able to connect and talk about some of these things through the week. So, good luck over the next couple days as I send you a number of reflection questions. My hope is that each day an insight will be identified that will bring you closer to your ideal dream coaching practice. Good luck!